All right, folks, getting ready for the show here. Our guest is in the green room and checking out all the controls, and it looks like we are about ready to go. So let's do this thing. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Uncle Marv podcast. Today, we are getting the afternoon edition because my guest is on the other coast. And so we had to obviously make arrangements for that. And so I am recording here late in the afternoon from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Our guest, my good friend Becky Beale Brunet, is from Colorado Springs. Becky, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, honey?
I am good. And I know that people will probably make comments, but Becky is still at work. So
Yes.
she is recording from what looks like to be a stock room.
A stock room. Yeah, it's the back area of the restaurant, and it's slash storage and office space. Yes.
Storage and office space. All right.
Yeah.
And it looks like you already have a friend joining us. You have a hello from somebody I don't think I know. So Amy Lynn is saying.
Hi, Amy. Thanks for joining us.
All right. So as we get started here, as I have started to do on my other podcast, I will do here. Of course, I'm recording in the afternoon on Friday, so the weather is a little bit different. It's a little cloudy today, not as sunny as it normally is. And the one good thing is not a lot of heat and humidity today. Right now, the temperature is 79, but the real feel is 86. So just wanted to get the weather report out there as I always do. And as we deal with a little bit of news, my first thing that I want to do is I do want to say thank you. Had a couple of donations that came in over the last couple of weeks. One notable donation, Miss Bridget Bounds, who is also a friend from Satellite Beach. And for those of you that don't know her, she is one of the twins that we always get mixed up. And she accused me of flirting with her sister instead of her or something like that. I don't know what happened back then. So just wanted to do that announcement. Also, a couple of birthdays we want to make note of today. Lisa Litterini and Michael Whiteside. Happy birthday, folks. Today is that. And in sports, college game day today was on the campus of the University of Miami because the Florida State Seminoles are venturing down for their annual game. Florida State had a heart-crushing loss 2 weeks ago. Miami, obviously on the upswing, ranked. Florida State, in typical Florida State fashion, just can't seem to get their act together. And of course, their new coach has contracted COVID, so can't even travel with the team. So he will be working with them virtually. And the Canes are favored by 11 points. I have a couple of adult wagering bets for entertainment purposes only. So I'm hoping that they can at least cover the points. We shall see. Let's see. In Florida news down here, I do need to say, because people always ask about Florida man stories. And so the one Florida man story that I will share with you is that a Florida man calls 911 after neighbors yell, "Shoot, shoot," during a hockey game. And this happened over on the West Coast as the Tampa Bay Lightning were playing. Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department had to show up at Devin Garnett's apartment door. He and two friends had gathered to watch the games. And in the first period, the trio began screaming loud for a goal, and their neighbor called the cops on them because he kept hearing shoot and thought that there were guns in the house. So there is your Florida man story for this week. However, I have a great story much closer to home for me. Palm Beach Gardens is the first fire station in 57 years to have an all-female staff. All of the firefighters in Palm Beach Gardens in this one station. I don't know if I know the number of it, but it has an all-female crew, including their Lieutenant Christina Heiser Korkowski, and that is just great news that a lot of strides are happening with all of the social unrest that's going on. Wanted to get that story out there just so that we could have something positive to talk about. So that's going to do it for the news. So Beck, let's get to you. How are you doing?
I'm well. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Busy. Yeah. Busy. It never ends when you own a restaurant.
Yes.
So every day is different.
Every day is different. And I will say, before we get too far into it, her husband did pop in real quick just to say hi and bye. He had to leave the store on a catering job, but I should probably go ahead and try to see if I can share this picture about your store. And let's see if I can do this right, because the store that you own, you're actually there now.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because you are so busy.
Because I am busy, yes.
Let's see if this comes up there. There is the front of the store, Mama
That's
Pearl.
the old location.
What was that?
That's actually the old location. That's the very first store we ever owned. We moved up north, northern Colorado Springs, into a bigger place in January.
Oh. Okay. Well, this was the first one.
That was our little hole-in-the-wall mom and pop.
All right. Well, that was the first one that I could find that had the name on it. Everything else was inside the restaurant, or the stock room. Who cares? So that was the first location. So you're at a new location. Do you still have the first one?
No.
Okay.
No.
So
we moved from a little smaller, what we call a hole in the wall. We moved out of that in January, and we opened up the 21st of January, and we're closed down 6 weeks later for COVID.
Oh.
Yeah. So we did everything by to-go orders and curbside delivery or curbside pickup up until the middle of June. They reopened us up at 50% capacity, and we've been at 50% capacity ever since.
Okay. All right. So do you know when you're going to be going to the next phase and being able to get to 100%?
No.
Okay.
No idea. No, I heard you guys reopened up all the way, though.
Our governor, I guess they were losing too much tourist money and too much, hospitality funds. And he decided earlier this week, open everything back up, remove all the restrictions. Now, restrictions still exist for other areas of the economy, but in the restaurant industry, we are able to dine inside and outside at 100%.
Okay.
I probably still not go, but
still not comfortable. And we've got a lot of folks that feel the same way. So we're still blessed that they're calling and doing curbside delivery or curbside pickup. So it's all good.
All right. Well, just real quick about your business, because one of the things that your husband said before he ran out the door was that you were a great asset to the business. So let me ask, did you guys open it together, or did he do it first and you joined later? How did that happen?
He opened it first. Some folks would say it was a positive midlife crisis. My husband is almost 9 years older than I am. And so he hit middle age a little bit earlier than I did. And he decided he didn't want to sit behind a computer anymore and make a six-figure income anymore. So he decided he was going to open up a restaurant. And he did that 8 years ago. And in order to keep us afloat, in order to see if, restaurants, if you've been in business for 2 years, they say, okay, you made it. And so I gave it 3 years. And so I had to keep working to make sure that I could take care of our boys.
Right.
And have health insurance. So I stayed in the corporate world for another 3 years. And then when he saw that we were going to do it, now don't think I wasn't supporting him, because I was definitely supporting the effort. but I did need to take care of the family and make sure that we were going to get this off the ground.
Well,
And I joined 5 years ago.
all right. So obviously he did well enough that you could leave your job as well. Now, you said he was behind a computer. Was he IT or just office
IT.
desk job? He was IT.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. A computer programmer for the better part of 30 years. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. But just got tired of it, huh?
Got tired of it. Didn't want to do it anymore. Didn't want to be behind a desk.
Well, I guess as a programmer, you're kind of tied to the desk. So my job is out and about, meeting with people, working on the equipment and stuff. So I have a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more flavor, I guess is a nice way to say it.
Right.
All right. And what did you do before?
Well, I've been in the hospitality industry. When we graduated high school, I went to work at the Holiday Inn there on the beach as a front desk clerk. And I worked my way all the way up to manager. And when we moved out here after Hurricane Katrina, I was working at the Broadmoor Hotel, which is one of only 2 5-star, 5-diamond hotels here in the United States. And I was a conference services manager. I was working 60, 75 hours a week. And then the economy tanked, and they laid a bunch of us off in 2005. And I was one of those that was laid off. Mm. They made the decision to do that based on if you had a spouse and your spouse was working. And my spouse was working at the time. So they let me go. And then I just went, a couple of different hotels, different things, up until about 5 years ago. And I brought my hospitality experience into our restaurant. So I would say that 5-star, 5-diamond hospitality has done us well here.
Okay, great. Great. Now, how big is the restaurant in terms of seating, and how often are you open? Are you open all 7 days, breakfast,
open
lunch,
all
dinner?
7 days. We're open for lunch and dinner. We don't take any break in there. We are Southern food, Cajun food, and Southern hospitality. We moved up here from New Orleans, and my husband is born and raised in New Orleans, and this restaurant is named after his mother. My husband is number 10 of 13 children.
Oh.
So he learned to cook through his sisters. And so he brought all those recipes that were in his family for years and years and brought them into the restaurant and made a restaurant out of it.
Nice. All right.
Yep.
And what's the signature meal there?
I'm going to say anything that has crawfish in it. Everybody wants crawfish. So crawfish etouffee, catfish pontchartrain, anything that's got any kind of crawfish tail meat in it. Today, this weekend is our last weekend for snow crab and shrimp. Crawfish has a season, I guess you might want to say. So we ended that in June, and then we moved straight into snow crab and shrimp, and that's what we're doing, and we're finishing that up tomorrow. Okay.
Now, are you getting your snow crab from up north, from the Alaskan area? No?
No. No, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know where we get it from. But
the only reason I asked that is because...
the ordering.
Okay. The reason I asked that is because the wife and I went through a period where we watched that, what is it, The Dangerous Catch or whatever.
Yes.
So that's where we knew of all the crabs and all of that stuff. So haven't watched that in a while. I can't believe it's still on, but watch that.
Yeah, it is. It's got a following.
Yep, it does. A lot of things have a following. I was one of the news stories that I was going to choose from is the 90 Day Fiance. Do you watch that show?
No, but Beth Nolan watches it, and she keeps telling me I need to get involved in it, and I'm like, I don't have time. I wish I did, but I don't. No.
Yeah, I didn't realize it either. The wife was watching it, and I said, "Look, I'll watch it if there's a Twitter."
Right.
Which, that's what I do when the show is on. I tweet about it and participate in that. And so now for the last 2 weeks, I haven't watched because the wife is out of town. She's up in Ohio, And so I had to put them on the DVR. So I didn't watch, didn't tweet, although there was news. And I don't know if you watched the show at all, at any bit of it.
Nope.
Okay. So, of course, there's different flavors. There's 90 Day Fiance. There's 90 Days the Other Way. And then there's Before the 90 Days.
Okay.
And they're all ridiculous.
I had no idea.
Yeah, they're all ridiculous in their own way.
Okay, I got you.
So since you don't watch, I'm going to save the suspense and talk with somebody else because there was some huge news about Larissa. And if you don't know, you won't appreciate it. But
okay. Well, I'm sorry. I can't help you with that one.
That's all right. The wife probably doesn't want me to talk about it anyway. So.
Okay. All right.
All right. So now let's go back and talk about how we know each other, because one of the things that we do in the show is kind of, I have people from all different walks of life. And so I have to sometimes explain how I know people, because we're going back, junior high, high school, college, grad school, junior achievement, and blah, blah, blah. So you are from the beach. When I say that, I mean Satellite Beach.
Yes.
I know that we went to high school together, but I don't know if we did other stuff together.
No, I don't think we did. We had a couple classes together, but no.
Well, and you were a band snob, right?
I was a band snob. Yeah. And I was a very proud band snob. Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. I enjoyed band. Band took, I started in elementary school with band and just went straight through to high school and graduated. And then go ahead.
What elementary school had band?
Well, I wasn't in Satellite. Listen, my dad transferred from my dad was military. He was Air Force. So my father transferred in. Right. So my dad transferred the middle of my freshman year to Satellite Beach. And so I went to, I was in band actually in California is where I started with any kind of instrument I could get my hand on. So, and then I wound up playing the flute in high school.
Okay. So I'm assuming Air Force brat and in California. And where else were you stationed? Do you remember?
Well, we were pretty fortunate. Daddy was in Alamogordo, New Mexico. And then we transferred to, and before that we were in Norton Air Force Base in California. And then we moved to Satellite Beach. So his longevity in places was we were at California for 10 years. And then we were in Alamogordo for 4. And then the last 4 were there in Satellite Beach. He actually retired there and got out of the military there in Satellite Beach. And then they moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico. My mother couldn't stand the humidity. So they moved back to the desert. And they still live there.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. How did he get 10 years? Because if I remember correctly, back then you could only do 4 years. At least that was my understanding, because my dad was every 4 years. We were someplace new.
Yeah, I know it. He actually moved different. I want to say the word sector, but he moved to a different area of what he was doing. And that's how he was able to add on another stint there. And then he was also up for lieutenant colonel. And so they were trying to maneuver and figure that in there as well. And then when he finally got lieutenant colonel, then they said, okay, so let's go ahead. That was after 20 years. He spent the last 10 years as a colonel. But the last 10 years, then that's when they finally moved us out of there and moved him to another space or another area, which was Alamogordo. So. Okay.
All right. Nice. All right. So you spent the 3 years or 2.5 at Satellite. And then what happened after that?
I got married at 18.
Really? Right after school?
Right after school. And moved overseas to Germany and spent 3 years at Bitburg Air Force Base in Germany. And then we got restationed. My first husband, we were then moved to here. in Colorado Springs. He was at NORAD, so he was inside the mountain.
Okay.
And that's when we had my first two children, who are now 32 and 28, or 29. He's going to kill me. He's 29. And so they were both born at the Air Force Academy here in Colorado Springs. And then we divorced shortly after that. And I moved down to Albuquerque, New Mexico, to be near my parents.
Okay.
And then stayed there until I met my second husband. And that's the gentleman that you met that left a little while ago. And we've been married for almost 25 years now.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. And we have a child together who just turned 21 and is going to Colorado University in Boulder.
Oh, they played. Did they win today? I think they were.
I don't know. I know the games were on, but I was a little busy, so I wasn't watching football. So I have no idea.
All right. And so, people always ask me when I do a post on the Facebook.
Right.
When
Who's Becky Beale Brunet?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I have to say on behalf of my good friend, and they're like, who is that? And why do you keep doing that?
I'm here.
Because I have been to Denver, Colorado a couple of times, and you're always like, why don't you let us know? Because, I have to explain to people, up until a few years ago, I didn't tell people where I was, what I was doing. If I was traveling, I didn't let people know until I got there.
Right.
And then it was like, all right, I'm here. Who's got an hour?
Right. Who's got time? Right. Yep. And the last time you were up here, it snowed. And I am just deathly afraid of that gap area between Denver and Colorado Springs. And and I just don't trust anybody who drives in this darn state. So we had dinner planned. And I finked out on you, and I really apologize for doing that. But I was just like, I am not comfortable getting in this car and try to deal with these people in the snow. So,
well, that's why. That's part of the reason is, I know. I made a point to say, okay, let's plan, and then you ghosted me.
And then I didn't ghost you. I told you.
But it was cold.
It was
cold.
Else. Yeah, it was something else. And then when the sun shines here probably 360 days out of the year. But once the sun comes out and it melts off that snow turns to black ice. And it's just like, I just wasn't comfortable going in that. And it breaks my heart that I missed you, but I just... But I appreciate every time you travel, you let me know and you give me a shout out. So
got to do it.
I'm glad you do.
Yeah. So, I was going to be traveling out to San Diego. That's not going to happen because of COVID.
Right.
And my law firms, they seem to be all set with their software. So the whole reason I've been going to Denver is that every year they have a big legal conference for the American Legal Association. And, I myself, I'm not a lawyer, but I work for a lot of law firms. And in order to evaluate the software and see what's new, I basically trick the lawyers into paying for me to go to these conferences and meet with the vendors and stuff. So I don't know when the next time I'll be headed out there because they go back and forth. Denver, Chicago, Atlanta, but I haven't seen anything scheduled, obviously, out there for quite some time.
So the next time we see each other may be the reunion next year.
Maybe.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I do plan on traveling for that.
Okay.
Carlin and I are going to travel together and come to Florida for the reunion. So we'll be there.
All right. When you say travel together, you're not driving, are you?
No, she'll come up here. She lives about 5 hours south. She lives right outside of Durango, Colorado.
Okay.
And she'll travel up here, and then we'll get on a plane and come to Florida together.
All right. So, I keep meaning to look this up. I never really figured out how far is it again from Denver to Colorado Springs?
It's about 50 miles.
Oh, okay. It's not as bad as I thought.
No, it's
'Cause
about 50 miles.
I have friends that are south in Castle Rock.
Castle Rock is from the tech center, which is the southern part of Denver. Castle Rock's about 15 minutes from
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Those people came to meet me, by the way.
Okay. All righty then. Never gonna live this down.
All right. And now it's on the internet, so it'll never go away.
No, I know. Now, yeah, now it's been recorded for posterity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm. So speaking of posterity, let's use that to transition into why we're really here. Because one of the good things about getting back on the Facebook and stepping back out into the world is now I get to learn all of the personal things that I didn't care about back in the day. So you, and of course, we weren't great enough friends that I would have expected you to tell me anyway, but you were not with your biological family growing up. Did I lose you? Uh-oh. See? Ghosting. So let me see if those of you that are watching can just give me a quick signal here, because I need to know if Becky has been dropped. And we're going to do a couple of little things here. Yep, there she goes. So, all right. So we're going to wait a couple minutes, folks, and see if she can get back on. I do know that, again, she is at work, and I don't know how the weather is out there. I know that, and thank you, Roxanne and Nicole. Yes. So I'm live. It looks like we lost Becky. I'm going to wait a few minutes to see if she gets back into the stream here. That is the joy of doing stuff over the internet. And let's see here. I'll see if she sends me a message. And if she doesn't, I'll at least give you a quick recap of what we were going to talk about, just so that all of you aren't left hanging. And do this. Why don't we do this? Let me actually switch over to do this. Right. It is. I am Becky's cousin and partner in the restaurant from New York. Oh, all right. So you want to come on the show, Roxanne? Do that here. So let me get some music streaming in here. Up, looks like she's back, so I don't have to do that. So let me get her out of the green room.
There I am.
There you are. So before we get to talking about what we were doing, Roxanne and Nicole were talking to me here in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
And Roxanne just declined my request to come on the show. So,
Oh, okay. All righty then.
So she's your cousin, huh?
Yes, she is.
Mm. And did you rope her into the business?
I guess. I don't know. She's a great human. She's a wonderful business partner, and she's an all-around just wonderful, wonderful lady. And we are blessed to have her in our lives.
All right. Good to hear.
Yeah.
So, Roxanne, thank you very much. All right. As you, I thought maybe you got a little, cold feet and decided to
No, all of a sudden it went black and there was no internet connection. So I had to reconnect to the internet. I don't know what happened. So.
All right. So as we were talking, I don't know how much you heard before you went out on us. We were talking about the fact that I did not know that you were not a part of your biological family in school or growing up. And
Nope.
I'm not sure the way that you made the announcement this year. I guess a lot of people didn't know.
No.
So explain yourself.
So I never announced that. The only person who ever knew that I was adopted was Carla. movie.
Okay.
It never felt like it was something that I needed to tell anybody because I had a mom and dad. And my mom and dad adopted me when I was 5 days old. They went from Alamogordo, New Mexico to Las Cruces, New Mexico to pick me up from an adoption agency. This was in 1967. And my mother could not have children. And so her and my father decided that they wanted to adopt. And I guess one of the interesting points of my adoption is that they were offered another baby before me. And my mom, I don't want it to sound bad, I really don't, but my mom said she didn't feel a connection with that baby. And so they declined. And 6 months later, they were presented with my adoption. And they drove down and they put me in her arms. And my mom said, "This is our baby girl." And that's all I'd ever known my entire life. And I told myself that if my children or my grandbabies ever got sick, that I would look for my biological family, because I would move heaven and on earth to be able to take care of my kids if they ever needed anything like that. But I had minimal information on who my mother was, my biological mother. Her name is Cheryl. She was very, very young when she had me. And I mean very young, in her mid-teens. And was put into a situation that was not going to enable her to care for me, because her mother was, for lack of a better word, not going to have it. So she placed me up for adoption. She was sent to a home for unwed mothers, and she had me. And she held me for a little bit. One of the nurses allowed her to hold me, and she asked if she could keep me, and they said no, because the adoption had already gone through with my parents. And I've just found all this out just recently in meeting my biological family. Sometimes when you send messages through Facebook, they go to a spam folder if you're not friends with that particular person. That's just kind of a way of, I guess, Facebook filtering things out, you know. And I never knew there was such a folder until I was sitting home one day in the middle of March, right after they had closed us down. And I looked in that folder and I saw an email or a message in there from my sister Carrie. And it just said, "I don't know if you were born on this day, and if this was you were adopted from this place. But I think if all that information does line up, I think I may be your sister." My world just went like that. And I immediately called my son over and I said, "I need you to read this, because I don't even know what to do with this information." And he said, "Mom, in the time we're in, you don't know if it's a hoax or not. So we probably need to look into it a little bit further." And so then I called my daughter. And my daughter was all over it, Marvin. I mean, just all over it. "Mom, I got this. I'll figure this out for you." And my daughter contacted Carrie, and we put all of the pieces together: the time I was born, where I was born, the hospital I was born in. I had all that information. My biological mother had given that information to the adoption agency. So my mother had shared that with me and told me, "This is what I know about your about your biological side, your mother and your father, your biological mother and father." And to say that it set my world on a little bit of a tilt is probably not the right way to say it. I was in a tailspin for a little bit. It wasn't a bad thing, but it was something that I was never thought that I was going to have to, and I don't want to say deal with. Deal with doesn't sound like the right word, but it didn't feel like, did I want to do this? I guess is what I want to say. So my daughter called my mother and asked her a couple questions. What was the name of the hospital that Mama was born in, and what time was she born? And she asked those questions of my sister Carrie, and Carrie knew exactly that information because it came from my biological mother. So I decided that I was going to go ahead and take that leap of faith and start communication. And found out that I have a sister that is 3 years younger than I am. Her name's Heather. I have a sister, Carrie. And then I have a biological brother by the name of Coy. And I have another sister by the name of Katie. And Katie's getting married next month, and I am going to her wedding.
Wow, nice.
We had a nice family reunion, a get together, I guess you might want to say, on the 4th of July. And bless my mother's heart, she opened up her home to it because, believe it or not, my biological family, the majority of them, live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, about 10 minutes away from my parents.
Mm.
It's a small world.
Yes.
I think my biggest fear out of everything was, how was my mom going to handle this information? Knowing that my biological mother was going to come into my life, and I now have a family, a very large family. It's just me and my brother. So I'm not, with the exception of my husband's family, I'm not real familiar with large families. They're large. There's a lot of them. I'm blessed that they are in my life. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, I will tell you that I've had my struggles with this. I think my biggest one is, where do I fit in? They all have a history. They've had each other all their lives. So where do I fit into this? Where's my place in their family? And I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm still trying to maneuver my way into that. But the more conversations we have and the more time that we get to know each other, it'll become a little bit easier for me, I think, in the long run.
Of course. So one of the things that, I think that we, in our generation, we are learning how to deal with a lot of these situations in a much different way than our parents did, and in the way that our children are going to, because we were that tweener generation where, these types of things before us, our parents and their parents, these were things that did not get talked about. These were secrets kept in the closet. These were things swept under the rug. And so we are the beneficiaries of that mentality, but things have changed. And one of the reasons that I wanted to talk with you is to let you know that I know many people, and I'm surprised at how many people I know that were adopted, and some of them didn't even know they were adopted.
Wow.
Some of them did know that they were adopted, and all of them deal with it in their own way. And, for your question to ask, where do I fit? Well, you fit exactly where you are.
Right.
The timing of when things happen is for a reason. So, granted, it's a weird time because the world is weird right now. So
Right.
in a sense, it may seem like that's one more thing, on top of COVID and on top of social unrest and on top of political unrest. But you know what? There's a reason that it happened now, and a reason that, things will fall into place. And, you'll be fine. They'll be fine. Everyone will be fine. And I think we lost her again. Man, I hope she heard some of that. So I cannot tell exactly who is watching live unless you're in the chat. I know we've got a few people in there. Carrie, the sister that she mentioned, is on. There we are. Hello again.
There we are. Hello again.
So I don't know how much of what I said you heard.
Well, the last part of what you were saying was that just in this time and what we're all going through now, it's just a different, I don't know, it's a different feel for everything, I guess, is what.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But I don't want you to ever think that, and I don't want anybody who's listening to ever think that I felt like being adopted was a stigma. My mother told me when I was 10 years old that I was adopted. But I never felt like it was like a secret, or I had to keep a secret, or it was anything like that. That was never anything that really was, I don't know. Right. I don't think it was that oh my gosh, everybody's going to look at me differently because I'm adopted, because that's not.
No, and I don't think anybody would. Like I said, a lot of us grew up with situations that, it would be different if you were adopted at 12,
right.
or something like that. But, you said at age 5. So
no, I was 5 days.
5 days, right.
I was 5 days old.
Right, 5 days. So nobody knew differently. That's, your family is who you were with.
Yep.
And outside of a biological connection, your parents are the ones you grew up with.
Right.
So,
and my mother couldn't be more excited for me. She has always wondered who my biological family was. The woman is just, she's phenomenal. And I'm so happy for you, Becky. You have more family. And I've always wondered who it was that blessed you and gave you to me. So both my mothers have thanked each other for me. So I couldn't be happier that those two women they shared my birthday together. I wasn't even there, and my mother asked my biological mother to come up to her house and spend my birthday there with her. And then she went through my baby book and showed my mother all my pictures, and showed my biological mother, Cheryl, all of my childhood photographs and memories that my mother had, and shared with her. So the two of them have formed a bond that I could not be more pleased with. And I'm very thankful that my mother reached out and embraced the journey the way she has.
Well, that's good to hear. That's great to hear. So, you mentioned the fact about people saying how great it's going to be, to have the additional family members. So that's something that it's hard for me to explain, and I don't know how many people remember, and most everybody remembers that it was me, my sisters, and my mom. Mm-hmm. My parents divorced when I was 12.
Right.
So I was in Satellite Beach, and, if my parents had not divorced, I would have been over in Italy.
Right.
During that time. But when my dad left, it was almost like we lost half of our family. Mm-hmm. And it made things very interesting for my mom to raise 3 kids on her own.
Right.
And back at a time where women didn't make a lot of money.
Right.
She worked 2 jobs, which kind of made, I'm not going to say it made my life difficult. It made my life interesting. So, trying to play the sports and then thinking that I had to work, trying to work at McDonald's and play football and basketball and all of that stuff. And, this past July, during the COVID, we were supposed to have a family reunion,
Right.
which would have brought a lot of those family members back together. So for the last year, I have been going through something similar where I'm meeting people that I've never known.
Right.
My mom, I thought for the longest time she was like 12 of 16 in terms of children in her family, but I think the real number is 13 or 14. I don't know exactly. It's one of those weird things. And so there's her side of the family that we still keep in touch with, or not we, but some of my people kept in touch with my dad's side of the family. And then there were some divorces in there. I'm supposed to have something like 53 first cousins.
Wow.
So going through all of those things of, meeting people and talking to people. And I have people, that are friending me on Facebook and they're sending me all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't know you.
Right. Right.
So it's, I can understand trying to figure out, okay, wow, the dynamics certainly will change.
Right.
But it's going to be fine.
Yeah, I know it's going to be fine. And some days are easier than other days. And do I want to meet everybody? Absolutely. Do I want to embrace the journey? Absolutely. I don't want to not be able to say, I got to know you. I got to appreciate you. They all knew about me from the time that they could remember. They used to call me and celebrate they used to call me August. And they used to celebrate my birthday every year in August because my mother, Cheryl, never kept it a secret that there was a baby that she couldn't have. She couldn't hold on to. So they all knew about me from wee bits growing up. And so it was important to them to find me. And so I'm never going to say, I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I just want to be honest that there's been days of struggle. Again, Marvin, in trying to figure out where do I fit into the family dynamics. And again, I'm going to fit in where I'm comfortable fitting in.
Right.
I guess is what I want to say. So.
All right.
It's going to be all good.
The world is going to be just fine.
Exactly.
At some point, we're all going to be gone. It's going to go on without us.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
No sense fretting over anything.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So, yeah, it was funny because I remember when that post went up, I was like, oh, well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And at first, I'll be honest with you, I was like, oh, okay. Because I was like, all right, new information. Let's move on.
Right.
But hearing you tell the story, it was interesting in, how you wrote it out.
Thank you.
Because you actually put out several different posts and, being able to share your feelings through those posts is powerful. And I think that's the good part of something like Facebook, where we can do that and get community support.
Right. It gives us a platform in areas where you wouldn't necessarily feel that could be a platform. But I have to tell you that was cathartic to me to be able to do that, because it had been the better part of a month since I found out. And I wrote those words down that I put out there on Facebook several different times in my journal. And I finally put all the pieces and parts together and the feelings and said, this is what I want to do. And there's also Carla Nuvi, who's got 4 adopted children. And she has been my biggest cheerleader through this whole thing. And there have been days where I wasn't sure I was going to, do I want to continue this? And she said, yes, you do. Because you need to find out what this is for you. So don't give up on me. Beth Nolan, a godsend to me. Tina Veltri, praying up one side and down the other for me. So I've had my girls that have been there for me and have helped me through this. And I wouldn't be able to have these women, these strong women in my life for 35 plus years has been a very true blessing to me. And I would not, if you were to tell me today, when we were back in high school, that these would be the three women that would be my biggest cheerleaders, I would have looked at you and said, yeah, okay. Especially Carla, yes. Carla and I have been very, very close since we were freshmen in high school. But Beth and Tina and I have had not so much of that up until recently in the last couple of years. And it's been wonderful to have these women in my life and to have strong women in your life. I can't begin to explain to you how much that means to me as a woman. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but women, women can sometimes not be there for each other. And to have that in my life has been an extremely true blessing. And I can't wait to see all of them next year. I'm very much looking forward to being able to spend time with them.
So let me add something to that I think will shed some light on it from my perspective. So looking at my life in satellite, thinking that, 35 plus years from now, I'd be doing this and talking to people who, I'll be honest, half the time I don't remember situations. I don't remember people sometimes. And looking now at the relationships that people from our high school, and I'm going to specifically talk about Satellite Beach, because in all the things that I've dealt with, junior achievement was one of those things where I can see those friends and we can pick up right where we left off, but it only pertains to things we did junior achievement wise. It pertains to the national conferences that we attended. It pertains to the company programs and stuff. But Satellite Beach, Satellite High School, Delora, Sea Park, Surfside, Holland, Hoover. I mean, it was something where it is absolutely amazing to see the way that relationships are kept. And it's not like, this Hallmark movie where, small town people stay friends all their life and deal with stuff. This is, Satellite Beach wasn't that small, first of all.
No.
And these are real relationships, and people who didn't hang out and socialize back then are doing it now. And it's no big deal. And everybody's there for each other. Everybody's happy for each other. Everybody's supporting each other. I'm actually kind of shocked sometimes.
And me as well. I totally agree with you 100% on that statement. Why? I don't know. But I will tell you that I'm really happy to see it. I'm extremely happy to see it. So let's keep it up.
Well, we are. I'm gonna do my catch up on this because I was out of the loop for many, many years, and back in it now. I mean, hey, Tina Veltri reached out to me recently, and we chatted. So
good, good. Yeah.
So we're on track, and I will keep reaching out to people and doing stuff. And of course, we've got the reunion that has been rescheduled for next year. So I think that is going to be something that, after this year, I have a feeling that a lot more people will show up than had originally planned to. So
I sure hope so, because there's some folks I would really, really like to see. I'd like to see us all be able to come together and just reminisce and be there for each other for a couple of days. It would be awesome to see.
All right. So now here's the question. Now, I know it's always difficult when spouses work together. So my wife works for me, so she can obviously leave and do whatever. Are
Right.
you two going to be able to do it together where he can come with the reunion next year?
I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see what the state of the union is here in this fine establishment at that point. I don't know. He tends to pull away from things that are like that, and not that it's because he's not interested. He's not a real big social butterfly, I guess I would say, and so he kind of just lets Carla and I do our own thing. So I don't know. Carla's husband's the same way, and Dan was a part of Satellite, so so I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
We'll see if I can get him on a plane or not, but he will probably just say, "No, I'm good. You go and have a good time." So
Yeah.
we'll see.
I tried to do that one year and got a phone call that I better get.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, I'm not a social butterfly. I'm a pretty shy guy once you get to know me.
Oh, okay. Okay. You go with that.
Oh my. So what else I saw there was some other news. What else is happening that I can't keep track with the Facebook stuff.
That's okay. It's all right. I became a grandmother for the 5th time this year.
Oh, congratulations.
That's all good. Yeah, she's Scarlett Joy. They named her, they gave her my middle name. And she was born.
Which one? Scarlett's your middle name?
No, Joy's my middle name. Yeah, they gave her the name Scarlett Joy. They gave her my middle name. And she was born in the middle of COVID. So that was an experience. She was the first grandbaby I haven't seen born. So that was a little bummed, but I got to take care of my 5-year-old granddaughter while my son and daughter-in-law went and had a baby. So that was a great 3 days. So there's been some really great things that have happened in the middle of COVID. So it's been an experience, but I'm certainly not going to look back on 2020 and say that, well, that was just a total bust, because it wasn't. There were some good things that happened. So
right. Now, are all your kids pretty close to you?
My daughter and 3 of my grandchildren live in Houston.
Oh, okay.
But my son and his wife, Nick and Jess, they live about 45 minutes away. And of course, Alexander's up north in Boulder, so he's about an hour and a half away. So they're all pretty close.
All right. 45 minutes is too close.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't see him enough.
I don't have any kids for my mom to come down and babysit, so maybe it would be different if I had the kids. So
Right.
Kim, my wife, has a son, and he stayed up in Ohio. So
okay, so that's where she's at. She's visiting him in Ohio. I gotcha.
Yeah. Well, actually, she's visiting the mother. So
okay.
Her mom can't travel anymore.
Okay.
So her and her sister fly there every year to go hang out with mom. Okay. And of course, the son, my stepson, is there still. So obviously they get together, and most of their family is still there. They are from a small town in Ohio. And when I say small, when I went to go visit her for the first time, they had one blinking stoplight.
Wow. Yeah, that's small.
And it was so bad it really felt like when we left her place, we had to go into town to do stuff.
Right.
And when we went out to dinner with her friends and stuff, we got in a car, we loaded up, and we took off down the road. We left town, and we were going down. If you ever watch any of those movies and you're just going down and it's nothing but trees and no street lights, and after like half an hour, I'm like, where are we going?
Right. There's a destination in mind, right?
He's like, oh, we're going to eat. And, we had to go to Kent or whatever. Had to make an hour drive. And she laughed. She's like, why? I said, listen, where I'm going, there's like 20 restaurants within 15 minutes.
Okay.
So it was interesting getting to learn the landscape in small town Ohio.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I've only ever lived in really, rather large cities, except for when we were in Louisiana, and our home was in a really small town there. 4 or 5 traffic lights, I guess. But we worked in New Orleans, so I mean that was
right,
a huge metropolitan city. So there's 500,000 people here in Colorado Springs, so it's Satellite Beach is big, large, So
yeah, big enough. So,
yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, I know that you probably should get back to work, and
Yes, sir.
would do that. So before we go, any shout outs that you want to do to anybody who may not be watching or listening?
Well, I appreciate my son getting me set up with this camera here because he wanted me to make sure I had a good camera. So Alexander, thank you. Tina, Beth, Carla, thank you so much for being here for me. Roxy, thanks for chiming in and coming in. Nicole, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And anybody else who decided they wanted to be a part of it, and my family, mom and dad, Carrie, Cheryl, Katie. We'll see you guys next month for Katie's wedding. She's the last sibling to get married, so it's big doings.
All right.
And thank you for asking me to be a part of your show. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you for saying yes, because
you are more than welcome.
There's so many yahoos have said no. So
actually,
not that many.
Okay,
but so, folks, when you see me make a post and say, "On behalf of my good friend,"
there you go.
Blah blah blah. This is the person that goes out to for dogging me on the trip.
For ghosting you, quote unquote. I didn't ghost you.
Me for dinner. All right, Beck. Well, we will.
Catch up with you, honey. It was good to catch up with you.
Yes, it was. We'll do that again, and obviously, we'll talk on the Facebook and stuff. But I don't know if we'll see each other again before next year, but definitely when the reunion happens.
Absolutely,
we'll do that. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching.
Yes.
And if you are listening after the fact on the podcast, be sure to go to either Facebook or YouTube and like the pages so that you can be notified when we do these things live. I don't have a set schedule yet. I don't make money doing this, so don't think that I can just, whip stuff up. That's why I have people make donations. And if you go to unclemarv.com, you can do that. You can either make a donation on PayPal, or you can use the link to take you to an Amazon store where if you make a purchase on Amazon, I get like a 1% or 0.5% commission or something that helps me pay for stuff like the microphone and all of this stuff and keep these things going. So thank you again, everyone, for watching and listening. Becky, thank you.
Thank you, Marvin. It's good to see you, honey.
We'll be back again soon. And until next time, holla.
Holla.